What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Ball Knowledge, the podcast. We're going to be talking some college sports today. Specifically, we're going to be tackling the issue of NIL and transfers. Yeah, joining me today, we got Logan.
Yeah, grew up in Logan, Utah. Been a fan of the Utah State Aggies my whole life, and my whole life we've been the little brothers of Utah college sports. And now, with the rise of NIL and the transfer portal, a certain school down south has been absolutely blowing up the bank every year to become more and more competitive. And it's had me thinking a lot. How in the world are mid-major schools going to match up with these high majors like BYU? And I guess Utah State's already better than Utah, so we have it figured out a little bit.
True.
But that's what we're going to talk about today. NIL, transfer portal, any potential solutions we see. I have a solution to pitch to the guys today, and yeah, that's what we're rocking with today.
Heck yeah. Anthony, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yeah, well, my college sports fandom kind of just lives and dies with University of Arizona. So, go Cats! Tough basketball team to cheer for.
We're
You
down.
know, we made it past the Sweet 16 this year, so that's better. Football program's been slightly improving, but then they take a few steps back. A few steps forward, a few steps back every so often. But you gotta love U of A baseball, except for this year. But ultimately, bro, go Cats! Like, we're pretty good. D1 team, so I love it.
And returning again, my boy Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right in there with Anthony. Big U of A fan, live and die for the U of A Wildcats. I mostly follow football and basketball. In the past, I'd followed more baseball, but I need to get back into that. They're lucky pretty good usually. I am an accepted student enrolled at BYU, be attending in the fall, so I will be a BYU fan. I'm kind of, but my fandom will grow, I'm sure, as I attend the school. But I will never lose my U of A pride.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun seeing BYU and U of A continue to match up more and more with that Big 12 rivalry.
Yeah, I have to find my allegiance.
I mean, I guess BYU is little brother when they get knocked out in the round of 64. So
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, just remember who didn't. Let's go Aggies.
yeah, Aggies did not, and they put up the best fight against Arizona until they ran into Michigan. So
Utah State could have been a 2 seed. That's what I'm hearing.
I don't know about that one.
We had to see the BYU USU matchup.
Oh,
Yeah.
man, do not get me started on BYU being scared to schedule us for a home and home or anything.
All right.
True.
Obviously, kind of like our discussions with the NBA and tanking and with the MLB and the lack of a salary cap or floor, college sports has also had an elephant in the room for the last couple of years, specifically since COVID. I mean, I remember being freshman year 2019, getting the alert on my phone that the NCAA finally brought back college video games because they brought name, image, and likeness. And I remember being super excited about that because I remember hearing about how much fun it was to play college football, college basketball video games. I remember Anthony and I ran some NCAA football once or twice back in the day.
Yep. 14.
Yep. And, that was all really exciting. And then when COVID hit, it became a very important thing for players to be able to transfer to retain eligibility. And that's when the transfer portal was introduced. And it has been off the rails since. College sports have been in a similar wild west as baseball has been with the salary cap. Today, we're going to be talking about that issue, how we would resolve it, what some of the ideas that are being pitched are. And I think, speaking of elephant in the room, we got to talk about this Save College Sports proposition that the President of the United States has issued. I say elephant in the room because I find it interesting that while we are literally at war with another country, that this is what is being talked about in the White House. So let's break it down real quick. Logan, before I read off anything, if you had to give like a spark notes of what the Saving College Sports bill that the White House has put out, what would be your summary of it?
If I remember right, it's 5 years of eligibility for each player, 1 free transfer. Each transfer after that, they'll have to sit out 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's basically it. For me, it just feels like it's a little too late. All the COVID guys who played like 6, 8 years, they're done now. Like, they're just wrapping it up. unless we have another major pandemic or something that causes eligibility rules to get messed up, I don't really see like how this works. I just feel like guys play 4 years, maybe 5 if they redshirt. If anything, now guys who don't redshirt will try and take advantage of that 5th year later down the line. And especially now that NIL is a thing, like that could definitely be a business decision by them. Like if you know you're not going to make to the NBA, just don't redshirt and then play the 5th year to just get a little bit more while you're at the top of your game as a senior.
Yeah, Anthony or Jackson, can either of you guys pull up the story with the Ole Miss quarterback and the court cases to get more eligibility? All right, thank you.
Okay. Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss is eligible for the 2026 season after a Mississippi Supreme Court judge denied an NCAA appeal allowing him a 6th year of eligibility. The ruling upheld a preliminary injunction that halted the NCAA from stopping him from playing following his lawsuit regarding a denied 2022 medical redshirt. He argued that a severe respiratory issues from enlarged tonsils forced him to miss the 2022 season while at Ferris State, and so originally the NCAA denied the medical waiver. He took legal action, and then in the final ruling, the NCAA's appeal of the overturning, basically allowing him that extra year of eligibility, that was denied by the Supreme Court, which allowed him that extra year of eligibility again.
So in a case like Trinidad, if Trump's executive order was to go through, even if he had missed 2 years due to medical issues, he wouldn't be granted a 6th. Because it says, this is all on the White House website, it says there will be no exceptions to the 5 and done, like a 5-for-5 model where players have 5 years to play 5 seasons, period. And so in cases like Trinidad, or I even think of Taysom Hill had a similar situation where he lost a lot of seasons due to medical reasons. I don't know any in the college basketball world or college baseball world, but
There's that one guy at either I think it's at USC, and he's been playing for like 7 years. I don't remember his name, but he was dismissed from the team halfway through this season.
You on the case, Jackson?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Let me see.
Chad Baker-Mazara. Chad Baker-Mazara is 26.
Unk. Holy. Wrap it up.
Unlace the cleats.
Hey, I'm so happy that these fringe pro, not even fringe, just these guys that aren't making the league, they're at least gonna get some type of bag. Good for them.
Yeah. It's good for them.
Oh, yeah.
You know what this kind of feels like to me, the executive order?
What?
Recently, we've been seeing a lot of court cases about eligibility with G League guys coming to try and play NCAA basketball. The Ole Miss quarterback going all the way up to the Supreme Court. Kind of feels like Trump's buddies in the judiciary branch went to him and were like, "Hey, bro, we are so sick of dealing with these college kids giving us restraining orders and all this stuff so they can try and play more sports. Can you just get that done?" So it kind of feels in response to that, maybe. But yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's a step in the right direction, but there are definitely flaws.
The eligibility question is one thing. The elephant in the room with college sports is NIL and transfer portal. So these are both also addressed in this executive order. The transfer thing, like Logan said, you get one free transfer. You don't have to miss any time. You can transfer schools, maybe get some more NIL money or get better exposure. But after that, if you want to transfer again, you have to sit out a year. This is pretty standard. This is what it was like before the transfer portal. This is even the way that it goes in most high school divisions, if I'm not mistaken.
At the very least, it's half a season, at least from us here in Arizona.
Yeah, I remember people transferring, and they have to sit out a year, and it helps discourage that because education is the primary purpose of somebody going to a school, and transferring schools can throw off education in a lot of senses, especially in high school. But in college, you're supposed to be an athlete. That's the reason that you have this scholarship, is to be an athlete for the school, to bring the school more money, to bring the school more exposure as a program, and to develop it as a college institution. Then the transfer is pretty important, but it has gotten kind of ridiculous. Do you have anything to say about that, Logan?
Yeah, I feel like you guys aren't really mid-major fans. You guys, U of A, BYU. Transfer portal season transfer portal season is like an exciting time for you guys, right? Because you're like, oh man, who are we going to get? Where are they coming from? Who are these guys? As a mid-major fan, transfer portal season is the scariest 3 weeks of my life. Right now, Utah State just pulled in the best freshman class we've ever had. We had 3 4-stars, 2 3-stars, just amazing stuff, right? They're almost all gone. We were able to keep 2 4-stars, and that's it. And the 2 4-stars we kept were red shirts, so they haven't played it all yet. But like Adlin Elamine, 6'9" wing, freak athlete, had a great run in the tournament. Probably going to be an NBA first-round draft pick. Transferred to Cincinnati, which makes sense because he went with our coach. But from the minute I set eyes on Adlin Elamine and watched him play basketball, I was like, he will be gone within 2 weeks of the portal opening. It's just sad. And the worst part is, like, when a coach leaves a mid-major program for a high major, they get a contract buyout, right? Utah State got $4 million for Jared Calhoun going to Cincinnati, which is absolutely program-changing money for a mid-major. When Elamine leaves, when our point guard Elijah Perryman left, nothing at all. Just 2 crucial rotation players gone with nothing left to show for it.
What you're talking about with like these small schools and with the talent and stuff, not to say Utah State is a small school by any means. You know, they've had
It kind of is.
You know, it's middle of the pack, like it's D1. Like
It's
that's
mid-major.
yeah, nothing to sneeze at. Like you guys have some excellent players that have come out of Utah State, at least in football. I can think of off the rip, I can think of Jordan Love and Bobby Wagner. Those are all pros. They're fantastic. And that's no joke there. But in the case you're talking about with you get these awesome recruits, play a year, if you get one free transfer, I feel like aren't those guys going to leave anyway?
Most likely, yeah. But I think the biggest thing that my transfer portal plan addresses is schools getting nothing in return for outstanding scouting and recruiting. Because, I mean, 4-star recruits, mid-majors are not their only option, right? And Elamine, it's not like he was coming to Utah State to be that guy, right? Like he started, but he had a pretty small role on the team, all things considered, right? I think he averaged around 7 points per game, which is great, right? It's great for a rotation player, but when you want to be that guy, starting at a mid-major isn't always the move. I think it was a very smart move for him to go to a mid-major, get some good playing time to show I can do this at the college level and then transfer. But my biggest thing is we literally just didn't have the money to combat it because he took a longer time than expected to make his decision. Like we had players commit to Cincinnati immediately after our coach left, and Elamine took a long time. And according to sources within the athletic department, he was actively meeting with USU to try and get a good deal for both parties. And ultimately, Cincinnati just had more firepower, right? A lot more firepower. It's a big athletic department there. They have a lot of resources, and they're in the Big 12. So a lot of eyes on you. Very high-level competition. So, man, this is just becoming an Adlin Elamine episode. I'm going to miss him so much. I love Adlin Elamine so much.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I mean, again, it kind of goes like what we were talking about with the salary cap last week was, I mean, can you really blame the guys for going to the bigger programs to get the money that they deserve? No. Yeah. We were talking before we started recording about Cam Ward, the reigning #1 pick in the NFL draft. Started his college career at Incarnate Word, a school that I think I could speak for all of us. Before you heard of Cam Ward, you never heard of Incarnate Word as a school or an athletic program. Transfers to Washington State, starts to get some exposure, transfers again to Miami, and becomes the clear #1 pick in the NFL draft. When you have a guy at Incarnate Word that has the talent to be the #1 pick in the pro draft, you can't blame the guy for transferring
Not at all.
to reach that potential. And
Get
hopefully
that
with your
bag,
guy,
King.
I don't remember what you said his last name was.
Elamine.
Elamine. I mean, it's like you can't blame the guy for transferring to a place like Cincinnati when they have a huge program, especially in the Big 12.
I don't want to be that guy, but if you want to talk pro upside, Utah State has 5 players in the NBA right now, 2 of which are rotation players on playoff teams. Cincinnati had, or maybe has one, but he's barely in the league. So basically, this whole episode is just Utah State propaganda. I tricked you guys all into letting me talk about Utah State athletics for 45 minutes, but
one of the things that the decision that LME made kind of shows that, like you said, their professional upside is not really much better, if at all, than Utah State. Correct? Like they don't have as many people in the NBA. It really comes down to money for so many people,
It
which is
does.
understandable, right? Like, you're a college kid. Maybe you didn't have any money growing up your whole life. You got to get that bag when you can. Like, that's a guy who's like obviously going to make the NBA, but you got to make the money, right? One of the things that I'd seen about potentially improving the transfer portal, that there's buyouts for players, right, for going to other schools, and that some of that would fall on the player. Obviously, I don't think that should fall on the player, correct? Like,
No.
that should fall on the people with the money. But rather than de-incentivizing the player from leaving, what they could do is incentivize the player to stay, right? Like they have the revenue sharing as of last year in the league. Obviously, certain schools won't have nearly as much to spend, but they, through their NIL deals that come from the school, like the first party deals that they receive, it could be like a tiered system. Like the longer you stay with your team, the longer you stay with your school, the more of that NIL money you get. And if you transfer it, it resets.
That's a spectacular idea.
If he stayed at Utah State, whatever they were giving him, it would ratchet up every year. So if he's there for 3 years, maybe he'll decide to go to the NBA at some point. But in that third year, he'll make maybe double what he made his sophomore year. And
Yeah.
the second he decides to go to another school, he can still make great money, right? But it resets. His percentage is back down to what he would be as a freshman making money at that school. So, they're still making money, and they're still going to go to the NBA either way, probably. But it gives kind of an incentive for team continuity. Everyone loves to have their good players return and see them be even better with the team the next year.
Yeah. I love that idea. So just to like put it in simplest terms possible, your idea is to set a salary cap on players depending on how long they've been at the school they are playing at currently, right?
Yeah, in simple
Okay.
terms. That I'm sure it would be like pretty complicated to
Yeah.
kind of figure out exactly what the team's budget is, right? But I mean, for the big schools at least, if they want to transfer between big school, they already have a cap, right? And it's $20 million a year for those big schools, or up to 22% of their revenue for the program, I believe. So they already have kind of a cap there, but it might get complicated down the line with the smaller teams and whatnot. And I'm not sure how to format that, but I feel like it's an idea that could potentially have legs.
Yeah, and so to build off that, Jackson said, I think if you're going to kind of do probably how they would describe it is like a tenure-based system, right? And I think you see it in all the pro leagues, like slot value, quote unquote, for like first overall pick in the major league draft. Slot value is 5.5 million or whatever it was, right? You have to sort of kind of define that within, I guess, the context of college sports. You guys might be more tapped into college sports than I may be, but I'm not sure if that's clearly defined or if that's like, very sort of set. To me, it sort of seems rather fluid and maybe more
Yeah.
based on hype. Maybe if you put it at like slot value is your star rating, if you're your 4 stars are going to be in this bracket, right? And you'll have that naturally, of course, like right now. But if you sort of better define that, then I think you can get closer to sort of the system that Jackson's talking about, because then you can not only go based off of tenure, but now you have your whole bracket for your 3 stars that have been with the team for 3 years and your 4 stars that have been with the team for 2 years. And then you can sort of further flesh out, like, I guess the program's revenue pool, or I guess NIL pool, and how that's being divided.
This is making sense to me.
Yeah.
Me and my little monkey brain, it's like, it's making sense.
I
Cool
do have
bongos
a
are
counter,
doing.
as
Great
I
idea.
tend to do when I come on the show. So I think this is a great idea on paper, but I think the biggest problem is if we do this based on like percentage or anything of total revenue, like that a player can earn under NIL, we get to like a player stays at a mid-major, like let's say they're at California Baptist. It's Dom Daniels. Love Dom Daniels. My example slide is of Dom Daniels. Let's say Dom Daniels is making $25,000 his first year at Cal Baptist, and then it gets bumped up to 50, 75, 100 his senior year, right? Kentucky comes along and they offer him $150,000 year 1, 300 year 2, 600 year 3, 1 million year 4. Because they can do that. They just have more money. And like as much as I'd love for this to work, because loyalty really should be rewarded, I think loyalty already does get rewarded by schools because these contracts that players are signing are only 1 year, right? So next year, if these players come back, they're automatically going to get either in the same region or more than they were getting the year before, unless you see like a big drop off in quality of play or drop in funding to the athletic department. So I think it's very similar to what already happens at mid-majors. The problem is the money's just too good in the Power Four to say no to move away from.
I think one of the problems is that when money comes into question, it kind of separates the classes. You know,
Yeah.
there's less movement, right? Like the second there's money in there, the rich schools will be the rich schools. They have the money, and they're probably not going to lose much of it. And it's tough for like a Utah State to really make their mark and be one of those upper echelon teams unless they do make it into like a big conference, right? Like that's kind of the difference is if you making it into a big conference. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to avoid that, right? I mean, and
yeah,
if a good player is a great player, they're going to go to a team that's going to compete, and those teams that compete make more money. It's a problem that like, I couldn't tell you the solution, but it happens everywhere. The rich teams
right.
pay the money, and they tend to be the ones that win, unfortunately.
I love that you bring up like the rich are getting richer because it's totally true. I'm looking at the final bracket right now for this year's NCAA tournament, and it looks like a grand total of one. Oh man, this is really depressing. 2, 3 if you count Gonzaga, 4, 5. I don't count Gonzaga as a mid-major personally, but
No.
4 mid-major teams won a game in March Madness this year, and it was Utah State, High Point, VCU, and St. Louis. Those are 3 of the best mid-majors in the country in VCU, Utah State, and St. Louis, and then High Point, which was awesome. But in years past, we get these crazy runs from these schools no one's ever heard of. And we got close this year. I mean, Siena almost shocked Duke. That would have been awesome. But what Jackson said is absolutely right. NIL it's separating the classes a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah. So let's resolve this real quick. Logan took the time to put together this beautiful slideshow.
Wow.
So we're going to go over this real quick.
Okay, happily. So as you can see, because there is already 3 very clear tiers in college sports, we're just going to make it into 3 actual tiers. Tier 1 is the Power 5. It's the Power 5 for basketball, the Power 4 for football, because the Big East is such a wagon in basketball and so bad in football that I cannot in good faith put them as a Power 5 conference for football, or I would ruin their programs.
Who would be the best program from the Big East in football? Like, I'm trying to think.
I have no idea.
I mean, let's see. I mean,
UConn is an independent. That's how bad the Big East is.
Seton Hall.
Seton Hall, maybe.
I mean,
Nova is all right sometimes.
Nova, yeah.
Is this Marquette?
do
I
something.
mean, Marquette's they may be the second
Marquette.
best.
Marquette's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golly, that's
But
a
yeah,
sad conference.
It's bad.
But like in basketball, they got UConn, St. John's,
They got Nova.
Marquette's
all
good
these-
every once in a while.
Villanova. Yeah, they got bangers in basketball. I think it's only fair, and they have brand as well. Brand is very important in college sports. Like those schools are national brands and known to be successful programs, right? That's why guys like Miles Byrd leaving San Diego State was a top 10 transfer in the country, and instead of going to Kentucky or North Carolina, he went to Providence because the Big East is a national brand. So those are the Power 5, and then the mid-majors, it's the group of 6. The new Pac-12 will be in the group of 6, and then the Mountain West, American, A-10, Sun Belt, and Conference USA. These will have a partial penalty applied to them. We'll get into that in a second, but not as severe as the major schools. And then low majors, which is every other NCAA conference. So your Hawaii, your Cal Baptist, your High Point, those guys fall into low majors. Miami, Ohio. So as you can see over here, I demonstrated very poorly some arrows going up and some arrows going down. If a player from a low major conference were to transfer into a mid-major school, then the school that they transferred to would pay 5% of the promised NIL package to the player, to the school. So if they offer a guy $1 million, the school makes $50,000. just a light 50 grand, which doesn't sound like a ton in comparison to $1 million, but that's huge for a small school. Then we go up again. If a mid-major player were to transfer to a Power 5 school, so for example, like with San Diego State, Miles Bird transfers over to Providence, that's 15% of the NIL package paid to the school. So same deal, $1 million, San Diego State receives $150,000 from that school to use however they like in their athletic department. Can use it for recruiting, can use it for facilities, whatever. It's not like locked in to be NIL money. So far, that's like literally the whole plan. Thoughts, concerns, what do we think?
I'm loving the bringing cash considerations over from Major League Baseball into college sports.
Hey, shout out Orlando Magic superstar cash considerations. The Orlando Magic trade for cash considerations every trade deadline, man. He's been a huge player for them.
Huge. Oh my gosh.
In this scenario, I'm assuming, let's say you have a guy who is a bench player on UConn, and he comes in and he gets some good time on the court, every couple games, he gets a couple minutes, and he's not getting enough playing time on UConn, and so he wants to transfer down a level so that he can get more play time and exposure. There's no penalty to do so.
No penalty will be assessed to the school.
Okay.
This is entirely made to be an equalizer in college sports.
I love that. Tax the rich, feed the poor.
Yeah, basically. We'll call it the Robin Hood rule.
The Robin Hood. Dude, okay, you got to trademark that now.
That's good, actually.
Hey, that's the title of this podcast.
The Robin Hood rule.
So these percentages of the NIL package paid to the school, that's paid from the big school to the small school is what you're saying.
Yes, that's right. It doesn't come out of the players, NIL, or anything. I think the one biggest concern that I have with it is it might lead big schools to offer less, but that's actually, I think, a net positive because it allows the smaller schools to compete with the offers made by the bigger schools.
Yeah, that was my first thought when you said that.
I mean, the
But then
difference
at that
between a
point-
college player making $2 million and $4 million when they're going to go to the NFL anyway, like I don't know. While it gives smaller schools a chance to compete, I think it's worth it,
I mean, does it really though? Okay, so say you're mid-major, right? So Utah State's offering a player X amount of money, and Clemson's offering them the exact same amount of money. I don't think that player is going to Utah State. I mean, I'm not
No,
and that's not
I don't
hating.
think
I mean,
so either.
but you're right. It is still an equalizer in a sense, and it
Right.
does help.
It's one of those things that after, I think, a few years of things moving the same, player movement, we'll be able to see a lot more low majors with the resources to compete with mid majors and mid majors with the resources to compete with Power 5 schools.
I mean, at the end of the day, ultimately the kickbacks to the schools losing the players like that, I think is a point of emphasis as well. Like, addressing the fact that, like you said, what did Utah State have to show for, losing all of your great players, right? So
Nothing.
that, ultimately that's the big thing that needs to be addressed. And I feel like that's a main part of this. Ultimately you're seeing a lot of programs just getting wiped. Like you'll have one great year. You can't, that's not good for the college game. So
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's why, even during a time of war, the president is taking some time to address this, because not only is this bad for the sports fans, but this is also really bad for the schools. Because you have schools like Utah State, for example. Utah State is just going to be the example of a mid-major. You could talk.
I love it.
There's a lot of other schools out there. You think of like your Ball State or whatever. You think of smaller schools. You could talk Utah State in the mid-majors or Ball State in the low majors. These are schools that students go to, period. But if they don't have the money or the resources coming in from revenue, most of a college's revenue comes from either their alumni or from their profits off of their sports, their art, whatever it might be.
Ticket sales, baby.
Yeah. When you're not making that money because you can't compete with the big dogs, that's where a Robin Hood is needed to come in and equalize things. You need somebody to kind of nerf your Michigans of the world from taking all the good players from other schools.
Which Michigan is like the quintessential evil Power 5 school, right? Like it lineup entirely built through the transfer portal, millions and millions of dollars.
they're the Dodgers.
Greedy.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
And that's why I brought them up. I remember seeing the graphic of the Final Four, like how they built their starting five, and Michigan's was like they had one player that started their
I don't
college
even
career
know
in
if they had
Michigan.
one.
I remember, maybe I'm remembering the graphic
Arizona had
incorrectly, but
one transfer and 4 from Arizona.
Arizona's homegrown, baby.
and that's how you
Also,
want it to be.
a lot of them were
That's rare.
freshmen. We don't. Yeah, bear
So,
down. Go
yeah,
Cats.
regardless. All right, next slide.
So here are the 3 like major notes I came up with while like writing this up. The players lose nothing, already been addressed. The schools pay the buyout. Additional percentages will be added if a player wins conference or national awards. So this is a big one because especially like seeing like Miles Byrd, for example. Miles Byrd was the Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Great accolade for Miles to pick up there. Preseason, he was also fair to be the Player of the Year. So big loss for San Diego State. And the standard rate does not apply there. There's like, I haven't come up with all the rates. I don't think I ever will need to come up with all the rates, but the one I came up with for Conference Player of the Year was an additional 5%, as you'll see on the next slide. Like I said, it's kind of just like a gesture of goodwill at this point. Like, hey, you guys did a great job scouting, recruiting, developing this player. We're going to take him for his last 2 years of eligibility, but here's $250,000. Like, it's not Miles Byrd or it's not Dominic Daniels, but it's something, right? It's something you can hold on to and be like, yeah, I'll take this at least.
Okay.
And then no penalty on play or eligibility for transferring. Like I said, in this day and age of the coaching carousel being a constant worry, especially at mid-major programs, but also like I feel like sports in general, we are a lot quicker to blame the coach than we've ever been. Like there are probably 12 coaches in the NBA right now that'll probably be fired by the end of next season, and 3 of them are in the playoffs or whatever. I don't really know, but I just feel like every year coaches get most of the blame for an unsuccessful season, and I think some of it is warranted, but coaches move around a lot. Coaches move up, coaches move down, coaches get fired. It just happens. And I don't think players, if they land in situations over and over again where their coach is fired, I don't think they should be punished for transferring to a new place. And I think a rule could be worked in, like if you're transferring with your coach, you can transfer for free, or like if you transfer because your coach transfers, then you can transfer for free or something. Like it could be situational, but as of right now, to keep things as little complication as possible, I just said no penalty, no on eligibility for transferring.
And I don't think that that's ridiculous because you think of you're doing this to try to deter players from transferring as much as they are or as much as they could. But if you include the revenue transfers like with the players, then the school still benefits when they lose a guy because they receive the compensation. It may be a little, like you said, it's not the player. It's not as good as it could be, but it's still something where it's like, okay, we can either put this money towards getting new guys, or we can put this towards a program, money that the player would bring in if they were able to, maximize their potential here in the first place. I don't see an issue with there being no penalty on transferring in the Robin Hood rule.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
That name is so tough.
it is tough.
I'm a fan.
I think money is the best incentivizer. I mean, there's really nothing else that'll make someone change their mind or make someone do something, and that applies to sports wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and then for me, I don't even mean to be different here, y'all. But actually, I do. I'm with Ben. I don't think it's ridiculous to say, no penalty on play. Me personally, I would still honestly keep it. But with that exception, I would say you'd keep you'd put in exceptions for if you're coming off a season where your head coach was fired, right? Or situations of that nature. But honestly, as a purist, kind of just for like the love of the game, like teams want to see their best players there for a prolonged period of time. I think ultimately that's going to be what's best for the college game. I mean, it's what's best for the pros, but that's not realistic either. But in a condensed, 4 or 5 year time frame, I think keeping players with their programs and trying to build something is something that's important. And so I'd say after one transfer is kind of pushing it low key, then I think that part of the college game now, like what's in place now, is kind of good. Like ultimately, I think just me personally, I think how it is now with you get one free transfer and then you're penalized. I think that's kind of a good system now.
Yeah,
like Logan
and
said.
I like it too. I want this system to be as pro player as possible, and anti-institution, like help the small institutions and do as much damage to the larger institutions as possible without doing
It
irreparable
really does
damage
sound
that's
like
going to
Robin
ruin
Hood.
their athletic department or athletics programs, as much as we can get away with while
That's
benefiting the
true.
little guys.
No, and it's certainly understandable.
Sounds like Robin Hood to me.
Yeah.
Yep. We can hop on to the final slide now.
All right.
Okay, so this is an example I cooked up. Dom Daniels, tough. He had a great run in March Madness, great game. Cal Baptist, WAC Player of the Year. I don't know. It was inconclusive whether or not he was in the portal. I did one Google search for about 13 seconds, and I saw just a bunch of articles, like clickbaity articles about him transferring to Kentucky. So that's the example we're running here. Let's say he does transfer to Kentucky. He jumps from Tier 3 in the WAC, which is a low major conference, to Tier 1 in the SEC in Kentucky. And with that 5% jump to mid-major and 15% jump to high major, that's going to incur a package of 20%. But because he was also Player of the Year, let's just say an additional 5% gets tacked on. So if let's go on the low end here, his NIL is $1 million. Cal Baptist gets a buyout package or reparations package of $250,000, which probably more money than Cal Baptist University has ever had at one point in their athletics department. That's a huge exaggeration, but would be big for the school.
Yeah. Okay. So in this scenario, he, as a player, is going to be, like you said, he performed very, very well in March
Right.
Madness. So because of his performance at the school, giving them, this great exposure in March Madness, the school benefits from that already. But now
Yep.
he gets to benefit by making all this money and getting even better exposure by playing at Kentucky, which is, like you said, Tier 1 school, so much better. So this is really, in all aspects, a win-win, because not only did he do his best with what he was given at Cal Baptist, but he also brought them this money by transferring. They don't have that kind of exposure.
It benefits the school they transfer from. It benefits the player, kind of. The only thing it doesn't benefit is Kentucky. And do you really think the University of Kentucky cares about $250,000 of athletics money? Because I'm here to tell you, surely they do not.
Yeah, I mean, it benefits them because they get the player.
Yeah.
But if this plan is instituted, then now they're not getting the player just for free. So it doesn't really benefit them.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
But I mean, 250,000, like you're saying, like that's one med student. That's their student loans, right?
Yep.
That's like trying to find a fork in a kitchen for them.
Sure.
I like this plan a lot, and I think that the Robin Hood rule needs to be trademarked as soon as possible, Logan.
Yes.
I'll get on that. And I'll pull up to the NCAA office in downtown Indianapolis.
Heck yeah! Shout out Indiana,
The eye.
promised land.
Hey, shout out Rip City. You guys
Rip
will
City.
beat they'll beat Wemby next time.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
All right. Final thoughts before we wrap up this first segment. So I think overall, like we keep saying it is the elephant in the room and it needs to be addressed. But this feels like something that can be addressed a little bit easier than tanking in the NBA and the salary issues in Major League Baseball. I feel like this is just one good idea away, a solution that will work. And I think it's just going to be a big blend of what we already have. Like Anthony was saying, Anthony likes what the president has put out with the whole the transfer regulations. But it's like okay, you take some here, you take some there. Maybe the president's idea of the transfer regulations work within Logan's Robin Hood rule. We take parts of what Logan said and that works. And then there's parts of Trump's plan, and then maybe there's some other ideas out there that will work, like Jackson was saying with the tiered system, right? Maybe it works with what Anthony was saying about recruit stars that they have. I think that if we put all of those things together, there will be a plan one day that will work. This doesn't feel like a lost cause. This doesn't feel like something that is inevitably going to end with a lockout like baseball will. This is something that can be fixed. And I feel really optimistic about the future of college sports because, we tried out the whole NIL willy-nilly thing, and it's been kind of scary because it's just made the rich richer and it's made the rest of sports a little bit worse. And same thing with the transfer portal. It's just been absolute chaos. I feel like I I've seen most players enter the transfer portal. Even if they don't end up leaving, they just throw their hat in the ring and see what happens.
Test out free agency.
Yeah. I don't feel like that should be encouraged, and I also don't feel like that should be allowed. If you're going to try it out, you got to commit. Bet on yourself. It's just not a type of thing where you could be like, all right, let's see what kind of offers I get, and maybe I'll stay. It's just wishy-washy, and I don't feel like it's good for anybody.
Yeah. The benefit college sports has going for it is that this is a new problem, right?
Mhm.
Like tanking is old problem. No salary cap is an old problem for baseball. So, I think if we get out in front of it, it's only been a couple years. I think
Yeah.
I don't realize a problem trying out new stuff.
Yeah.
And I do think like the product, at least at the top, has improved drastically.
Yeah.
Like the level of talent in college athletics because of NIL is amazing. Like guys are staying extra years in college to improve their NBA draft stock, not just get to the league and start getting paid, but improve their stock and try and go in the first round or in the lottery because they can make money while they play college sports. It makes their programs better for longer. It's just fun. Like it is fun. It's not fun when your best player gets poached by a Power 5 school. But we've talked about that enough today. College athletics is in a really good spot right now. There's just some things that need to be addressed to make it even better.
Oh, yeah. It's not nearly as big of an elephant. This isn't like a woolly mammoth that is going to eat you. This is like Dumbo in the room. You're not scared of Dumbo, but it's like, hey, Dumbo, maybe don't be in my room right now. I could use the privacy.
They are talking about that.
Yeah. All right. I'm really happy with everything that we put out. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back for the second half. BRB.